What's up, everyone, and welcome. You are watching another episode of Well-Rounded Individual. I'm your host, Adam Schindler. I have another incredible guest for you once again this week, it's Tuesday today. She is a lifelong athlete and a fitness professional. She is a native of the big island of Hawaii, and she is changing the face of what it looks like to be a woman in your 40s. A real badass chick. Welcome to the show, Katrina Tamlin. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super happy that we could get together and do this.
Yes.
I know we're pretty new friends,
Yes.
but we've been chatting back and forth, and I just really appreciate your input and your outlook on things. And I've just noticed like how dynamic you are, like not only as a trainer and as a professional, but as a person. Right?
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you for being here. And I'm super excited to like get into your story and have you just kind of like divulge into like what's made Kat, right?
Yes.
But before we get into that, the first question I like to ask every guest that I ever have is, with the name of the show being Well-Rounded Individual, and we all encompass that, right? When I bring people on here, I want to always have well-rounded individuals. What are some characteristics of that term or definition that you would say someone would need, or that a well-rounded individual has?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, a good positive vibe, a good aura, being a good leader, being kind to people around you, kind of like a good influence to people, right? And when you meet someone, giving them the best face that you have, I think, and it's taking me time to get there as a person. I kind of was more standoffish in my younger years, and I got like people that would tell me, well, oh, you were kind of, a little bitchy when I first met you. And I think that was me just being a little closed off. And as I got more into fitness and became a group instructor and really dove into being a personal trainer full time, my face is what, sells me. And that's going to be the first impression that somebody gets out of me. So I think, just being a very open person, being an open book, sharing your life experiences, being kind to everyone, right? Because we've all been through things, good and bad. So I think just being kind to people, and again, just showing your true face when you first meet someone, positivity, love, sharing, your knowledge with people is another big thing. So, just
generosity.
Generosity, exactly, is, going to be a huge part.
I love that. And a couple of things that I took away from what you just said right there is energy, right? You said when you bring a certain type of energy, and then you also mentioned like being standoffish at first.
Yes.
Right. I think that number one, it's important to be protective of the kind of energy you let in, right? But being able to feel the right type of energy really allows you to open up, especially in like the atmosphere that you're in. We see so many different types of like personalities and people, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Is you can kind of trust the energy that you get from people.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. But and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to give my energy to everyone, right?
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean that everybody has to accept my energy or, how I am. But when I see people that, come off very rude or standoffish, that's not how I want people to view me. So I think that, being around people like that and, being in our profession, like you said, we meet a lot of people that have different personalities. First impressions really are big. They really, really are.
Yeah, for sure. And being like a walking billboard, because that's what we all are, like in the fitness industry. And people are judgy too, And I think especially, part of like having a hard outer shell, especially as a female in this industry, is almost like a necessity, right? But then once you get into like an environment where it's like welcoming, like sometimes you go into a gym and you just absolutely have to be standoffish because it's just like, who knows? Yeah. But like, especially in the environment that has been curated in the gym that we are in, I feel like it's much easier to be open and be loving and immediately.
Yeah. And I'm like the biggest goofball that you'll ever meet. Like you see me, I dance around the gym. I don't care who's in there, who's watching me, because I just want to, like, if I can put a smile on somebody's face and make them feel loved and welcome, then that's kind of like my goal in life. Even as a trainer, right? I want to change people's mindset with working out. I want them to be healthier. But then again, making people feel good. And that's always what I'm trying to push for is how can I make somebody feel good about themselves, being around me. I want people to feel good when they're around me. So that's kind of, like, I think that should be, everyone should have that in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And take it from me, you do an amazing job doing that.
Thank you.
Because you always bring the energy. I've taken your classes before too.
Yeah.
And they're freaking amazing. Everyone's having fun. You're singing, you're dancing, you're hyping people up. It's contagious.
Yeah.
Right? And so you do an absolutely amazing job doing that. So your goal is being fulfilled through your action, which is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, even like with class, sometimes I get nervous before I teach group fitness. And it's almost like you kind of have to block out the world and then just get up there and just be you, unapologetically. I can never say that word right. But yeah, just be yourself. And that's who I really am. That's who I am at home. So why would I be somebody else when I go to work?
Right.
Why would I put on this front like I'm mean and I don't want to talk to you? Like, that's not who I am. And maybe I'm not always talkative, right? We all go through things, or we're all dealing with things that, maybe I'm going to be a little bit quieter at times, and that's fine. But I just want to make people feel good. And I grew up, my mom is she's a very difficult person to deal with, and she's always grouchy and she's always moody, and it affects her, like I'm like, you try to push this energy off on me because I feel like she's maybe jealous of how I am, right? Like,
yeah.
But that's her problem, and like I said, if people take me the wrong way, then that's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I know who I am, and I'm just a happy-go-lucky kind of person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that type of self-awareness and constant intentionality with that takes practice, right?
Oh, yes.
And it's an evolved
thing. Years. I didn't just wake up one day and was like, I'm going to be a happy, positive person.
Right.
No, it took a lifelong journey of disappointment, of trauma, really, really bad times where I'm grateful to even be alive to get me to where I am now. And all those negative things that happened to me throughout my life have definitely brought me to where I am today and who I am today. And I'm a very grateful person. I'm grateful for the life that I have. I'm grateful for the career that I've built for myself. The vibe that I've built for myself. Like I don't care if I sound like, what is the word that I'm looking for? I can't even like think of it right now. Not like self-centered almost,
right?
But I've been through shit. So
we should be proud of you.
I should, yeah. And I should be proud of myself,
Because if you're not proud of you, then how do you expect anyone else to be?
Yeah. And
right?
I want everyone else to build this life for themselves. And I'm not saying that you're just going to wake up one day and just be a positive person and look at life the way that I look at life. Like, it really took meditation at times, reading self-help books, realizing that you create your life for yourself.
Right.
It's not handed to you.
Right.
Nobody knocked on my door and was like, hi, I'm here to give you the best job that you've ever wanted and be your own boss, and positivity and love and self-confidence. Like, nobody came knocking at my door and gave me
none of that comes for free.
None of it.
Right. And
none of it.
In the most happy people, the most, I think, the best people who curate that type of environment for themselves have been through the fire.
Yeah.
And because, the strongest steel is forged in fire, right? And it's hard to have that outlook if you've never been knocked down before, because anything can make you throw a fit, you know what I mean? But when you've been through the fire, you understand what it's like to be at the bottom, and you know that you can survive, but you know that it's always best to look at the best possible side of it. Make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So let's kind of like dig into that a little bit.
Let's go deep, you guys. Let's do it.
Let's dig into it. So you grew up on the big island of Hawaii.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Take me through like what made the cat that's sitting in front of me today.
Yeah. So, I grew up not in the wealthiest family. We grew up very poor. We lived on a beach in Hawaii for the first year of my life in a van. Oh. Yeah. Like I actually have photos of these, literally in a van. When you could do that, you can't do that nowadays. Like Hawaii's very different. You can't just like move to Hawaii and live on the beach in a van.
Yeah.
But yes, we did. My parents are kind of like hippies. So that was, the first year of my life. And then we kind of bounced around from house to house. My mom was a very hard worker growing up. She gave me everything. She definitely did. And I think that's part of the reason why she kind of almost holds a grudge against me, because she gave up her life for me. And, I appreciate that, but it upsets me that she holds that against me in a way,
It was a choice.
Yeah, it was her choice. It was her choice to have me, right? My dad has been an alcoholic, was an alcoholic. I lost my dad almost 2 years ago. Was an alcoholic my whole life. Not an abusive alcoholic, just an alcoholic. He was a different person when he drank. So I knew two different sides of my dad. The alcoholic, always drunk person was who I knew most of my life. Rarely did I see the sober side of my dad. He built observatories on Mauna Kea in Hawaii. So he lived up on the mountain. So we only saw him every once in a while. He would come down because it's a far drive to get up there. So he lived up there while they were building it. So I'd see him maybe on the weekends when he was off. My mom was, the main support system. I'm an only child. Don't really have any other family. My grandparents all passed away before I was born. Didn't know any of my cousins. So it was me, my mom, and my dad. After that, my dad became a commercial fisherman. Growing up in Oregon, fishing was kind of his thing too. So he went into that after. And with commercial fishing, you go out for maybe a month or so at a time. So again, he always was gone. So I really didn't see my dad that much. So when he was around, it was a little awkward, and he was always drunk. So, and I loved my drunk dad. He was fun. Again, he wasn't abusive in any kind of way. Just that's what I was constantly around. My mom is kind of more of like that hidden drunk kind of person, where she would like hide it in her sippy cup in the car, like in a coffee cup. So she'd pretend like she wasn't really drinking. And, I look at myself as kind of like a latchkey kid. I know that people that are our age, kind of, we grew up in that era where we didn't have cell phones, right? So we would go outside and we'd play. And then like my parents would like yell or whistle to get me to come home.
When it's dark, you come home.
Yeah, you come home, right? That's dinner time. So, there was a lot of times where there wasn't a parent or an adult figure around. I was sexually molested as a kid as well, from a neighbor at a house that we lived next to, which I held in until I was in my 20s. I didn't tell my parents about that until I got really, really older, because you feel ashamed, right?
Right.
Should I have done something? Should I have said something? I was scared that my dad would have taken a shotgun and walked across the street and shot the guy in the head, So
do you think that was partially of a protective behavior on protecting your dad from possible retribution from what he could have done?
For sure. I knew we had guns in the house. If somebody did that to my kid,
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely, being protective because I didn't want to like lose my family, So that happened. I've dealt with all these things that I'm going to talk about, right? Of course, they're still there. We keep all of this in a lockbox. It didn't go away. But you learn how to deal with trauma. My mom got me into martial arts at a young age. I believe I was about 6 years old. I didn't really want to do martial arts. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I did it, and I instantly fell in love. I was like, this is for me.
Yeah.
I kind of had ADD growing up. Who doesn't have ADD nowadays, right? Everybody's got ADD. And I used that as an outlet. So I did that. And, by the age of 17, I got my black belt in martial arts, which was a huge milestone for me. I did boxing growing up. I danced hula. I did gymnastics. So I was a Girl Scout. I did all the things.
Yeah.
My mom was very good about putting me in
keeping you involved.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that. She would drive all the way to school, pick me up, take me to karate. I'd spend hours at karate. She did everything for me. Like I said, she gave up her life for me.
Right.
And I appreciate that. And I tell her thank you all the time. So that was kind of my life until I got into my late teens till I was 18. I also dated a very older guy when I was younger. And I think that was me looking for a father figure.
Because of just the absence of work and things of that nature.
Yeah. Having the absence of my dad, having a male figure. Me and my mom started not getting along. She had me at a later age, so she started going through menopause. So we just bumped heads. We're not alike. I'm definitely more of my father than I am my mother. So that was my outlet. I'm going to date somebody older. They're going to take care of me. He was 15 years older than me. It's a big difference. When I was
15,
when I was 15,
double, right?
He was 30. Yes. I was with him for 5 years. Thought that this was the love of my life. I was going to be with this man forever. Turned 18 and realized that he was keeping me locked up in the house pretty much. I wasn't really allowed to go out and enjoy my life. So I left that toxic relationship. And then from there, it was just one toxic relationship from the next.
Is that kind of just what you kind of only knew type thing?
Yes. I guess I enjoyed that toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And
sometimes that can be addictive too.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I think that's what you tend to start to look for in relationships is that toxic love.
If they don't control me or if they don't tell me what to do, if they're not mad about this, then they don't love me.
Then they don't love me. Yes. And so I bounced around from guy to guy. And they all weren't good. And then I met one guy. I was in that partying stage. I started drinking. I stopped doing karate. I stopped boxing. I pretty much left the fitness lifestyle behind and was going down that path of my parents, or mostly my dad, because my dad did, he did drugs and alcohol. My mom was just an alcoholic. So I saw myself going down that same road, just drank almost every day. Then met this guy and found out that he sold drugs. And I was like, oh, what's this? And got into cocaine. And then cocaine and drinking became this lifestyle. And from there, it just went downhill. It got worse. I started taking pills, staying up all night, barely sleeping. I would stay up for 24 hours at a time, just partying every single day. I had fun. I am not going to sit here and tell you that those times are not fun. Yeah. I had fun. I, at the time, loved, doing drugs and drinking.
Yeah. I mean, I can concur. I've done drugs before, and there's a reason why people do them. They are kind of fun sometimes, but it gets to a point. Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I want you to please jump in whenever. But you get it. It's easy to see why people become addicted.
Absolutely.
Because I think that was my outlet, because I didn't want to deal with all the things that had happened to me.
Yeah, it's like escapism.
Yes, it's a little way to block all that stuff out that happened to you instead of facing it. Right there, what do I need to do to get past this? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to become to heal from all this trauma that happened to me?
I think a big part of that too is that healing isn't immediate, right? When you're looking for a substance to take you away from the hard thing that you have to do, you can immediately be in another world. But the healing, that takes time.
Takes a lot of time.
That takes work. It's not like, okay, I've decided to heal and voila, I'm healed, right?
Yes.
Voila, I'm high. I feel better, but not voila, I'm healed, right?
No, it's not a wake up one day and you're healed. You have to face it, and you have to make that commitment to change and envision the life that you want. And that was a lot of my healing. Was I envisioned this life that I'm living right now. And when I tell you I envisioned it, like I sat there, I closed my eyes, and I saw myself doing the things that I'm doing now. I like physically saw myself training, being an instructor, helping people. And I'd have to do this over and over and over again. And it was a process. So kind of back to, going down that black hole. I came to Vegas when I was 21. I had a friend of a friend that lived out here, and he was like, hey, you can become a stripper and make lots of money. I'm a drinker. I'm on drugs. I can make lots of money stripping. Let's do it.
Jackpot.
Let's try it. So I came out here. I moved in with them, and these are people that I didn't really know. And I was like, how do I get cocaine out here? Because I still wanted to do drugs, but I didn't know anybody out here. And one of the guys that was living in the house that I was living at, which I found out after I moved up here, had previously just gotten out of prison or jail for drugs. And he told me, oh, I can't get you cocaine, but I can get you crack. Obviously, now I know that was a lie, because he wanted crack, right? I'm going to use this girl to go and make money and tell her that I can't get her cocaine, but I can get her crack, because he wanted crack. So I started smoking crack. When people ask me what crack is like, it's the best 10-minute high of your life. It's only about 10 minutes, but everything goes away. All the pain, you just feel like you're on cloud 9. And then after 10 minutes, it's gone. So it's that chasing the dragon. And it's so embarrassing to talk about this sometimes, but I'd like crawl on the floor looking for drugs. So I'd go in, I'd strip, I'd make money that I was supposed to be making to help pay for the car that I had back home in Hawaii, to, start building, a financial stability for myself. And instead I'd go to work to buy drugs. I'd do this for, a month or so, and then I'd miss home. And at the time so let's backtrack a little bit. Right before I left, I met my wife, who's now my wife.
Right. And
we met through a mutual friend, and I've always been, I guess you'd say, like, bi-curious. Like, I love who I love. I don't have a preference of who I love. I just think that the heart kind of just draws you to a certain person, and you fall in love with them, or you gravitate to them, whatever it is. So I met her, but I had already made the decision to leave and become, a stripper. She had a very good head on her shoulders. We went to high school together, but she's 2 years older than me, so we didn't really know each other during high school. But she's a very smart person. She's got her shit together. Didn't use drugs, none of that. Didn't know that I was using drugs either. I hid that from a lot of people, because back home in Hawaii, like, you don't really talk about that.
Yeah.
So I held all that in. became, a stripper, and I missed her. I missed home. I missed my friends. I missed my mom. So my mom would have to pay to fly me back home to Hawaii because obviously I spent all my money on drugs. And I did this for, about 4 months of going back and forth between Vegas to Hawaii, Vegas to Hawaii. And finally I called my mom and she said, this is it. I'm buying your ticket home. Pack your bags. I'm not sending you back. Like, we're done with this. And I know that my dad knew that I was on drugs, but because he went down that road, he never said anything. And I wish that maybe my parents stepped in and said something, but they didn't. And they kind of just let me live that life,
right?
Which is good and bad in a way, right? If I didn't live this life that I lived in my 20s and experience the things that I experienced, I don't think that I'd totally be the person that I am today. Mm-hmm. I think it built me into who I am today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I came home and, I went back to the cocaine. I left the crack behind because in Hawaii, like, crack's not really a big thing there. Mm-hmm. So I went back to the drinking and the cocaine. Me and my wife moved in together. And I was lying in bed one night, I should say. And it was probably like 12 o'clock at night and I was high. And I was like, what am I doing? She's sleeping. I have to go to work in the morning. Like, what are you doing, Kat? And that was it. And I made the commitment to stop. I had to leave a lot of friends behind because I built like a really, a group of friends, but they were into that partying life.
Right.
So I had to leave those friends behind and just tell myself, like, you're going to kill yourself. And there was times where many times that I got really close to death. I had a seizure from doing too much drugs, the driving drunk home on the Big Island.
Yeah, so dangerous.
So dangerous. And I was listening to one of your podcasts and I heard your drunk driving story.
There are many of those.
Yes.
Like, not that, but there are so many times that I'm just thankful that someone had their hand on me.
That we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Having this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very, very thankful. I don't want to cry. No, I won't cry. But, I just get a little emotional. 'Cause I look back at that life and again, I don't regret anything. I'm not going to sit here and say I regret that I did this. The things that I did to get drugs are embarrassing. We won't go into that, but you can probably get the gist of it. It built the character that I am right now.
Right.
And I want this to help people. And that's why I tell people my story. Mm-hmm. Because if I can help someone out there that's going through something or that's been through something, I just want them to know that, like, you can make it out of anything that life has thrown at you. And life is going to throw shit at you. You could be in the best place in your life and then it just tears you right back down.
Unexpected.
And so, we lived in Hawaii together, me and my wife. Then we decided to move to the island of Maui where, life it started getting better. The drugs were done. The drinking was a lot better. My wife really helped me get my life together. So I'm extremely thankful to have her.
Shout out to Pua.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife, Pua. This woman's got a good head on her shoulders, right? Got my credit up there, taught me a lot about, just growing up. My parents didn't teach me much. Mm-hmm. My mom babied me because she didn't want me to leave. Mm-hmm. She wanted me to always need her. Mm-hmm. And that sounds kind of sick in a way, right? Like, she always wanted to know that I needed her help with everything. Right. So my wife had to kind of teach me to, like, you need to grow up. Yeah. Like, you need to, like, you have potential. So we moved to Maui, lived in Maui for 8 years, loved Maui. It was great. But where was our lives going? I worked 2 to 3 jobs. I began working at a gym. I was personal training on the side. Really dove deep into fitness, worked at the Four Seasons, decided that I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. So I got into doing that, really big into bodybuilding. And I've always been a fitness girly, right? Growing up, doing martial arts, boxing, all of that. Learned how to lift weights at like, I think I was like 14. I worked at a gym too. So I learned how to lift weights at a very, very young age. And I always had the passion of, fitness and just health. And so I started getting back into that because I knew that that's what made me feel good.
So that was like upon the move to Maui.
Yes.
You're like, all right, buy bad friends, buy community that's doing nothing for me, start over new.
Yes.
Build better.
Build better. And that's where it started, was in Maui. And before we moved to Vegas, I competed in my first bodybuilding competition, which was, eye-opening, right? The waking up at 4 a.m. doing fasted cardio, eating chicken and almonds and broccoli out of a container in the middle of work. That structure and that discipline and that routine really started to carve me into who I am today.
I love it.
Yeah. So we lived in Maui for about 8 years, and I was like, there's more out there for me in the world. I was like, I know there is. You just feel it, right? And you have to go after things that you feel. And
action is all about action every time.
It is. It's all about action and setting that mindset of what you want and then taking the jump. And the jump is scary. Moving to Vegas was scary because I already had this past trauma in Vegas from being a stripper.
Right.
So then telling my wife, let's move back to Vegas.
Yeah.
This will be great. She was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get back into drugs. You're going to get back into stripping. Like, we had already been together for 10 years. Is this going to ruin our relationship? And I was like, we need to do this. I can't keep working 2 to 3 jobs just to pay rent. Hawaii is expensive. It'll always be home, but the price of living there is expensive. And unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to pursue your dreams out there, especially if you don't come from money.
Is it because of the cost of living and then just like, maybe just like, I mean, it's an island, so there's maybe less opportunity at hand?
Oh, yes. Yes. You're landlocked. The cost of leaving Hawaii is expensive.
Get all your shit.
Yeah. Well, and to just go on a vacation and see the world. And I wanted to see the world. That's always been one of my goals too. I want to experience different cultures. I want to meet different people. And again, I just wanted a life for myself where I wasn't working, an 8 to 4.
Yeah, that's not life.
It's not life.
That's not life. Yeah.
Corporate job. I'm not a corporate girly.
No.
Do not like being told. I do not like being told what to do.
I mean, you have such like an aura about yourself and just like an independence that I couldn't imagine you taking orders from somebody.
I'm really bad.
Yeah, me too.
The only person
you and
I take order
like
from is my wife.
Yeah, we're a lot like we are very similar in that. Like, I had a corporate job for a little while too, and I was like, oh, yeah, I can't do this.
No,
I don't do this. I won't do this.
I get way too mouthy.
Yeah,
I've had way too many fights with bosses. Yeah, I just don't like being, and I take pride in all my work. And I've always taken pride in all my jobs that I've had. And then that didn't always go over so well because then they just use and abuse you.
Right.
And then everyone else slacks off and then you have to pick up for the people that are slackers.
Yeah, because not everyone else, that's the thing, that type of personality doesn't belong in an assembly line. That type of personality belongs in a self-driven creative role, which you are now.
Yes. And so we moved to Vegas. We did it. We made the jump. We sold all of our stuff. We moved here and we transferred from the Four Seasons in Maui, which was a great property to work for. Four Seasons was amazing. The benefits were great. So we transferred to the one here. Obviously, I knew that the Four Seasons...
Right there at Mandalay?
Yeah, right there at Mandalay. So we transferred to the Four Seasons here, and I knew that it was temporary. I told myself this temporary. We're not I'm not going to stay in this corporate job. I stayed with the Four Seasons for about 10 years. So I knew that I was going to come here and find my outlet. So I was there, and one of my bosses was like, hey, you should come to True Fusion and try out a class. Like, let's go do, it was like a boot camp class, a hot boot camp class.
Kettlebells.
Or maybe it was bar. I don't know what it was. It was something. So I went, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I've never experienced this. The room was packed. The energy was high. The instructor was amazing. And I looked at the instructor on stage, and I said, that's going to be me. I'm going to do that. And I did that. I became that. I went and got certified in almost every modality with True Fusion. I did boot camp. I taught Pilates. I taught bar. I taught battle ropes. I taught boxing. I almost taught every modality at True Fusion except for spin, because I'm just not a spin girly, and yoga, because I feel like I'm just way too hyper for yoga. You have to be like very zen for yoga.
Yeah.
I'm not that zen. I can be when I need to be, but it just wasn't down. You know, I knew that, you know, yoga people are different, and I love them for who they are. I was just like I wanted to be the instructor on stage. I had the music blasting at like 100 and dancing on stage.
Yeah. Well, you got to be aware too of what's your path and what's not your path.
Yes.
And it's totally okay for not every path to be your path.
Yes. And that's fine. And I loved it. And when I tell you, like, I told myself that I was going to be that instructor on stage and I was going to fill the room, I set that mindset and I set that goal. And I became one of the top instructors at True Fusion. My classes got booked out the night before at midnight. My students set their alarm clocks at midnight to book my class. And sometimes within 10 minutes, gone. These rooms were filled. Like, I'm just like 60
I've been in a packed class before. They're
mat to mat.
Yeah. You're in there.
And when I tell you, I got the same high from being on that stage as I got from doing drugs.
I love it. Yeah.
It was amazing. I did that for about 5 years. I taught 2 to 3 classes a day. I drove from all 3 studios in Vegas. And I was still working at the Four Seasons at the time. So I did True Fusion and Four Seasons. Went to Tao, worked at Tao as a server for a little bit. And COVID happened. Just right there. COVID done changed everybody's lives, you guys.
That completely transformed my life and as far as fitness goes as well. Yeah. So it was a definite like turning point.
Yes. And I took some of the clients that I had with True Fusion that had reached out to me, and they said, hey, can you personal train us on the side? So I would go to their house and I'd train them during COVID. And I myself, like, I wasn't one of those people that during COVID just sat on the couch.
Yeah, same.
Bike rides, getting outside, walking, working out every day in the garage. I took COVID as like an opportunity to, you know, work on who I wanted to be. And then COVID was over and it was time to go back to work. I wasn't going to go back to Tao. I didn't want to work the nightlife anymore. I was like, this corporate life's over. So I just went into True Fusion full time. And that's what I was doing. And then I had an opportunity to become a personal instructor a personal trainer at Omalza. It's a gym here in Vegas.
Yeah, I know it, yeah.
So I went to Omalza and dove into personal training. A lot of my clients came from True Fusion. So I'm very grateful for that as well, because that helped me grow my business into becoming a personal trainer. And then I realized that True Fusion was just starting to kind of drain me and taking that potential of who I really wanted to be away.
Yeah, they're still corporate. They still want you.
They're still corporate.
You're still a pawn for them.
Yes. Yes. They're only going to pay you a certain amount. They want you to do this. They want you to do that. You know, I'd get calls about, you know, you're doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong. And I knew that I had to, you know, I had to leave, and it hurt me. I cried leaving, because I was leaving all my students that loved me. I was leaving that energy, that high that I got on stage, to really dive into personal training. But it was the best decision I made.
Right.
And I'm here today. And again, I'm very grateful. And last year was hard. That's, a year and a half ago, that's when I lost my dad. I got into a bad car accident where I got T-boned. And this is where I go back into life is going to throw things at you. Maybe it wasn't the drugs and the alcohol, but now I lost my dad. I had to move my mom from Hawaii to Vegas to be her sole caretaker because there was nobody left to take care of her. We had to sell our home that I grew up in to move her up here. And that was another really bad year of my life.
Right.
And I was like, I went down a really dark hole emotionally. I lost clients. I had to take time off of work. I ended up having to have surgery from the car accident. But again, I'm getting right back up there, right? I got an opportunity to be on your podcast. I'm starting my own podcast. My life is going back up. I started teaching at Tread, which is part of the gym that we work at. So it's right there. So I'm getting that itch for teaching group fitness again. But I'm still able to do my personal training full time.
Right.
So, that's kind of my story. I know it was a little long.
Yeah,
but...
no, thank you so much for sharing
and
it.
now I'm 40 and fit, right?
Exactly. You took everything along the way, the bad, the good, the bad, and everything in between, and you helped it build you, right? There are times, this is the thing, it's like life isn't linear. Learning isn't linear. Nothing is linear. We're going to have a graph. We're all going to have a graph. Weight loss is not linear, right? Yes. We're all going to have a graph. What we want to do, we're going to see ups and downs as long as we have a trend of better. And always, that's what matters. And what I heard from you, a couple of big takeaways from your story is like, because I can relate to you on so many levels with wanting more, with falling down, with drugs, right? With just knowing that there's something else out there, right? But a big thing that I think you have that is kind of like something special about you is your ability to visualize what you want and then make it happen, right? So I come from a grappling background and from a fighting background. And so visualization is something that I heard from the time I'm like 6, 7 years old, like visualize what's going to happen in the match. And then,
manifest
and it literally is a superpower.
It is.
The power of visualization is so powerful. I think maybe I used power too much there, but the effects of visualization are so powerful, right? But visualization doesn't come from just having a dream. Visualization comes from seeing what you want, believing that you're capable. Right? Because you can see it and want it all day, but then the belief that you're capable of doing it.
And then putting the work in.
100%.
And then
that
putting the work in.
That is the key factor. Doing the work and taking the action.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times we get so just crippled by analysis, right? They say the paralysis of analysis. But your ability to take action on what you wanted. And sometimes that comes from no other option, A lot of times we see people that like really wanted something their whole life, but they never took the action on it because they kind of like had a comfort fallback on and they just chose to stay comfortable.
Yes.
Being able to put yourself in an uncomfortable position and take the action because you absolutely have to is something that you must do.
You have to be uncomfortable.
To create greatness, right?
The second I get comfortable in anything, I'm like, oh, I need to level up.
Yep.
What do I need to start working on now? Who can I be next?
Right.
Where can I take my career from here? because comfort's not a good place to sit.
Right.
Jim Carrey, Michael Jordan, all of them, they all did visualization. I don't know if it was a book that I read or a podcast that I listened to, but Jim Carrey, before he came who he was, he like sat on this hill in LA, saw a car that he wanted to drive, saw himself acting in movies, saw this life for himself, visualized it, then put in the work, and look at who he became.
Mm-hmm.
So visualization, it's extremely powerful.
Right.
But you have to see yourself doing it day in and day out, day in and day out, and then put the work towards it.
Right. That's the thing too, is being able to continue the work without the result.
Oh yeah, you're not always going to get the result.
Yeah.
Like I said, nobody comes knocking on your door and they're like, "Hey, you visualize this. Here you go."
Heard you've been visualizing things.
Yeah.
Welcome to your life.
You just fall out of the chimney. No.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not like that. And it's not easy, just like having a fit body or losing weight. Good things in life don't come easy. They shouldn't come easy.
No.
Because then they wouldn't be great. They wouldn't be good.
I don't want if it's easy.
Yeah, exactly. A person that had to work to become a millionaire as opposed to a person that was just handed $1 million, those two people are going to be way different.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why people who win the lottery lose it all or die or because they have no appreciation.
They didn't have to work for it.
Right.
They didn't. Yeah.
Speaking of work, you put in work to look the way you do.
Oh, yes.
40 years old, and I know we can only see from here up from you, but anyone who knows you in person, like, you look amazing. Like,
Thank you.
You are what women should aspire to be like. Physically, but
That
like
means
also
a lot.
personally, and the way you treat people and the way you conduct your business with integrity and just love, right? But that consistent effort towards your body, that's something that I feel like even when everything is going wrong, when, the times when we get thrown those curveballs, like deaths or car crashes or COVID or what have you, the ability to say, hey, you know what? I can always control myself. I can always focus on myself and continue to do what I can do to be better. And having that type of thing is what allows someone to age the way that you have.
Yeah. I'm trying to age backwards. I'm trying to be like fine wine, you guys.
Bunch of Benjamin and Buttons around
Yeah.
here.
Trying to get better with age. And it's all about longevity. And I think growing up with parents that did not take care of themselves or being around people that I saw that didn't take care of themselves, and then just really diving deep into fitness and seeing, especially in women, what not having muscle on your body does.
Ooh, preach.
I mean, my mom fell down in the backyard of her house 15 years ago, shattered her whole foot, ankle, I'm talking like 15 bones in her foot. And why do you think that is? Because she has no muscle on her body to protect her bones. Do you know how common this is between women? I'm pretty sure you've seen the studies.
It's, I think, the most common way that old people die now, right?
Yep.
Is from a fall.
From a fall.
Maybe not eventually from the fall kills them, but
Everything
the
else
fall
that comes
creates what else?
Yes. Whether it's illness, the medication that you go on. So that's where me as a trainer, I like to really drill in to people, and it's not just women. Men carry more muscle than women, right?
Right.
So it definitely is. I dig it more into women because women are like, well, I don't want to look bulky like you. And I'm like, first of all, I've been lifting my entire life.
Yeah.
I did not just wake up one day and just become.
Second of all, you're not bulky.
I did not just become buff.
I wouldn't call you bulky.
Yes.
You look good.
But some women don't want to have the muscle mass
that's
that I
true, that's
have.
true,
And I understand that, right? I get that. It's not going to happen though. Like I said, it has taken me 20 plus years to put my whole life almost to put the muscle mass that I have on my body. You going into the gym and lifting for a year is not going to make you bulky. What is it going to do? It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you healthier. It's going to make you live longer. You'll burn more fat. It's just, there's so many benefits to putting muscle on your body. It's so important. And all I want to do is help people. I want people to live the healthiest, longest life that they can, so that by the time they decide to retire, they're not in a wheelchair or in a hospital bed or on medication.
Right. Enjoy.
You want to retire and go out and live your life. Isn't that the goal of retirement? And unfortunately not. We live in a world where we're under muscled, and obesity has become extremely bad. Under muscled is really big though. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a size 2 or look a certain way. That's not what I'm saying, but go and put some good quality muscle on you.
Yeah.
It'll help you fight disease, cancer, right? Most people that get cancer that end up dying, unfortunately, if they had more muscle on their body, they might have a better chance at surviving. And that's not in all cases. There's some cancer that'll take you out. But having more muscle on your body can fight off disease better.
Always better.
Always better.
Yeah.
So I think as you being a trainer and as me being a trainer, what we're out there to do is help people feel better and live longer.
Right.
That's my goal. That's what I want for people, to love themselves, to be happy, to appreciate this life that they're given on earth. We get one life. That's it. Hopefully I come back as, something cool, but who knows? We don't know. But I want to help people. So I'm really happy that you brought me on here.
Yeah.
And again, I hope that this story and our conversation, if it helps one person.
Yeah. No, it absolutely will. You brought a lot of value and a lot of things that people can take away from this. And we're not done yet. We got about at least 8 minutes to go.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we can keep going because I got some more stuff to ask you.
Let's talk.
Just talking about but you've covered a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I was going to ask you, you just proactively covered.
Perfect.
But just leveling up, right? So this is what I think. This has happened since I was, I think, 35. Rather than being oh, it's my 35th birthday, I'm on level 35 now. I'm on level 36 now, because as I get older, I'm getting smarter. I hope I'm getting smarter. I'm getting wiser, that's for sure. But I still feel just as good because I'm making good, smart decisions, and I'm getting better. And everyone can do that. I'm confident everyone can do that. When I say this, a lot of times people are yeah, but you're they try to make me think that I'm an anomaly or something like that, which I'm not. Right?
No.
Anyone can do this.
Anyone.
With focused decision-making, intent, desire, and action, right?
You can change your life around at any point.
Even if, let's say, for instance, someone is listening right now, our age, bad shape, never been in shape. You can start right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Walk out the door and go for a walk.
Exactly.
Move your body.
And in 10 years, right? So people underestimate a lot. I hear that this is not something I made up, but people overestimate what can be done in a month and underestimate what can be done in a decade, especially when it comes to physical changes and health changes, right? So just freaking start, and longevity is where it's at.
Oh, it definitely is. You look at, these countries around the world where they have the most healthiest people. And what do these people do? For one, a lot of them walk everywhere.
They farm a lot too.
They farm a lot. Italy's a big one. These people are walking up these hills and these are older people,
right?
And I think in the US and in America, we just tend to sit too much. We all sit at office jobs. And then, unfortunately, we make excuses. Well, I don't have time. Okay, so I'm not telling you have to start off by working out 45 minutes a day. Split that up into 10 minutes, 3 times a day.
Exactly.
Go on 10-minute walks. I know that you've got 10 minutes 3 times out of your day. Go and open your phone, go to your settings, and look at how much you are on. So your phone will tell you how much you're on social media or how much you use your phone, right? So it's just making small changes.
Right. And it only has to be small, you know?
It only has to be small. And you keep doing that. Another big thing is consistency. Consistency is key. I say this all the time too. Do something consistently, right? The bodies that we've built, we consistently had to put in work to get to where we are. And again, we're not trying to get anybody to, be at our level. We've been doing this our whole lives. But just to help people, again, if you're 40, like I don't want to hear, oh, I'm old.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I used to think 40 was old, and then I hit 40 and then I was depressed and I was like, oh my God, I'm 40. But then I look at people that are 40 and I'm like, wow.
You know what another thing is? I like being in my 40s now. And
the
even
shape
though
that
I'm
we're in.
going to enjoy all my 40s, but I can't wait to be 50 and people be like,
wow, damn.
And then I can't wait to be 60 and people be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For so long, I've been having people tell me, just wait till this time, just wait till this time. And in my head, I'm like, shh, you're wrong. You're wrong, buddy. Just wait till I get there. Just watch me.
Oh, I was unhealthier in my 20s than I am now.
Oh, by far.
Way unhealthier.
Even I was a pro athlete in my 20s and I'm still more healthy now. I might not be able to do some of the things just because of when you're young, you're so
a little bit more limber.
A little more limber, right?
I can't squat.
But still just about.
Yeah, I can't squat the weight that I used to squat when I was
you don't
younger.
want to either for longevity.
I don't want to. Yeah, no, I'm really not trying.
I'm not trying to hurt my back.
My back or my knees,
Yeah.
My style of training has changed.
Yeah.
So depending on my clients, right, if they're a little bit younger, yeah, maybe I'll have them, pushing a little bit of a heavier load. People that are more my age, we're going to do more functional style training. Working in all the different planes, your flexibility, your stability, working on ankle strength, wrist strength, grip strength, so my style of changing or my training style has changed as I've gotten older. Right. And then I've learned how to adapt different styles of training to my clientele and to myself. So in my 40s, yeah, like you said, I'm smarter. I feel the best in my body. And I'm like, if this is where I am now, where am I going to be in 10 years? Because that visualization of who I still want to keep becoming and how I want to help the world, it's still there. And I'm
change 1 million lives in a decade.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
I love it.
That's my goal. Reach somebody every day, maybe every month, every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable and open with your story, because I know that's not easy to tell. It can feel embarrassing at times, but it's important for someone like you who's gone through fire, who's gone through hell and come out so much better, to be able to be like a shining light to others who are currently experiencing hopelessness,
Yes.
To know that it can be done and it can be better than you ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing. I'm so happy that to call you a friend and to be able to share and reciprocate your energy on a daily basis. So we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. There's always more to share.
Yeah, at a great time. And I just really appreciate you. And I know that my audience is going to take a lot out of this.
Yeah. And that was my goal. And that's why I wanted to be an open book, because, not everybody knows my story. And I don't always tell everyone my story. I just kind of, I don't know, we were talking one day and I just opened up to you.
Yeah, opened up to me.
And I feel like that sometimes. Like if I feel right to open up and tell my story, then I do. And people will be like, oh, she came from this, she came from that, she was given this, she was given that. So me being open and letting people realize that I had a very, very hard life you can make the change.
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
can make it. You can do it. But
Cool.
thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you too.
Thank you for
Yeah.
allowing me to be a facilitator of this story.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you took a ton away from this episode. Again, if you are watching this and if you made it this far, first of all, thank you. But click that subscribe button, whether you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That allows me to grow this show and just helps me get better as a business and a podcaster and improve my skills as well. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this, and we'll see you next week.